All right, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and get started with our weekly update for the COVID-19 situation as it stands at Dayspring Restoration and Clean King. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that everyone's mute. There's some people that you still do have the ability to take yourself off of mute. We will have opportunity for Q&A here at the end, but I wanted to just start with a few updates. Let's see here. I've got some photos to show you guys, and I'm going to start here with one. I think I'm going to be able to start with some photos. Ideally, this will be available here in just, I might have to take 1 second to find these photos because they don't want to come up. Bear with me for just a second. Probably going to need someone to be able to tell me that they're able to see these photos. So maybe one person could take themselves off of mute in just a second. There's just let me know that you're able to see this. Bear with me, guys. I'm sorry. I think I found it right here. So let's see here. So we have some photos just of some jobs that we've been working on. We wanted to share some photos of a COVID-19 job that was a confirmed case. Appreciate folks coming down from Helena. We had support on that. If someone could just put a little message there in the chat. One thing I've found with the Zoom here is sometimes you can't, it's hard for me to tell if you can see. Okay, so someone's put a chat up here. Hopefully we'll be able to see. We can see it, Mark. All right, great. That was Traylon. Traylon, thank you. So here's some photos we had on this particular job. Both Ken Skinner and I were down trying to be as good of workers as we could be on this job. One of the reasons that I worked on this job with Ken is we wanted to be able to see firsthand exactly what is happening with some of these jobs. We've got some new processes and some new protocols that we're involved with right now. And I wanted really to be able to see these things firsthand and be able to, oh, it says we can actually not see the actual photo. This is one of the things I got to figure this out. So figure out how to do this. I'm going to try again. Hopefully you can see that now. Someone please put up a quick chat there if you can see this photo now. Yep, see it now. Good, thank you guys. So this photo, here's Ken in the foreground here with a few of us in the background. Like I said, we had a couple guys from Helena and then folks in Bozeman working to disinfect and decontaminate a hotel that had been affected. We wanted to be able to see firsthand what was happening there and evaluate some of our processes. And then one of the other things that was important for me was to be able to ensure that we as an organization understand. I'll show a few other photos here. Some people may not believe that I was actually working out there. Hopefully you can see this photo as well. Someone give me just a quick chat to let me know you can see this other photo that I just pulled up with us doing some cleaning on the walls. I'm not seeing anyone saying yes yet on chat, but I'm looking to see if anyone on chat, same photos. This is one of the things I got to figure out with Zoom is every time you change the photo, you have to go back and redo a screen share. So I apologize for that. I got to figure out how to do that. Here we're actually doing some of the disinfection. Now this is not a level 1 disinfection on this one. This is a project that we worked on where there was several confirmed cases of COVID. So really important on this project that our PPE processes were very, very solid. And I'm pleased to say that the information that we have put up on our learning management system that everyone hopefully has had a chance to look at now through Dayspring Academy were followed well. At least everything I observed, people talked regularly about the donning and doffing of their personal protective equipment. So again, thank you to Lisa Dixon and Mark McDiffett who put together really valuable resource for us with this information. We wanted also not only to see what was happening, but I also want folks to know this is not work that we go in to do that we just simply want to send people into the front lines and say, yeah, you guys go out and do this work, and we're unwilling to step into the same place that you are. most any work that I would ask anyone to do, I've mentioned over the years, I probably had at some point an opportunity to do that work at some point, and I wouldn't ask anyone to do something that I wouldn't do myself. And so I felt it was important that we as managers and leaders are willing to continue with that and to be able to put ourselves in the same situations that we ask our team members for. So that's actually me on my knees. Again, I wouldn't ask anyone to get to ask too many questions of Juan and Emilio and Eddie and Cody and Jesus and all the guys that we had there. I'm sure that my efficiency and speed was not that of one of the other technicians, but I was doing my best there working on this case, and it was great to work with the team and be able to conduct that job with them, and they really did an excellent job. A lot of the training that we have has been very helpful for this work that we're doing. And again, one of the things that's really important, I talked to our team about this morning, it's very important that the work that we're doing is at a minimum meeting, and if not that, exceeding the recommendations that we have either in protocols through the associations and organizations that we're aligned with, like the ICRC or RIA, or also the government authorities like the CDC. So meeting the requirements that we have for the disinfectants, like the List N disinfectants, we want to make sure that the work that we're doing is at least exceeding what those labels are recommending, which is why we're doing multiple steps of disinfection and making sure that we meet at a minimum those guidelines that are recommended. We want to make sure if there are specifics for dwell time or application efficacy, that we are meeting those at a minimum. Again, I told the folks that we were working with on the project yesterday with the disinfectants that we're using to make sure that we are liberal with the application of those disinfectants. Now, if it's the application of chlorine or bleach, there are some downsides with that. It's corrosive in nature and also can cause bleaching or oxidizing. So in that case, you'd want to really be careful. But most of the disinfectants that we're using are very safe. And it's important that we're getting that dwell time by making sure that the use of our disinfectant is liberal. I told our guys, these disinfectants we're using are inexpensive. Make sure that we are using them in a way that is at a minimum exceeding the work that we're doing or the requirements that we have. So really important stuff, and I wanted to make sure to give kudos to the guys that are down working on some of these cases where we actually have confirmed cases or work that is certainly unsettling. And I want to just address as we talk about this, not only the issues that we have in this kind of work, but then also just the way that we intend as a company to respond to some of the other aspects and elements of this crisis. And I talked again with our team in Bozeman about this, or some of the members of our team in Bozeman about this morning, and we just had a discussion out in the parking lot about some of these fears that we have. And this is for a lot of people a scary time. And it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be concerned. And there's not any honor in acting like some of these circumstances that we're in right now aren't scary, or that there isn't things that we're concerned about. We all have different concerns. Most all of us are concerned about our families. We're concerned about our health. We're concerned about our jobs. We're concerned about our communities and our country and our businesses and our livelihood. There's a lot of stuff for us to be concerned about right now. But I just want to encourage everyone as we look at this, that and this is one of those times in our lives that we have to take courage. And so as I talk to everyone about this situation, we really talked about what does courage mean? Courage means, one of the ways we could define courage is it's being able to take action in the face of fear or in the face of being scared. So courage doesn't mean that we're not scared or that we don't have fears. We do have those fears. But we're able to take those fears and take those things that we face and able to move forward in a way that is safe. and in a way that is wise. And so as we look at it, we really only see that there's two options as we face these fears. And as we face these circumstances that we're in, we have either one option would be for us to all isolate ourselves in our homes and to not leave our homes until all of this is passed. For me and for our company, that's not an option for us to do that. And so the alternative to that is that we try to get through this as well as we can, and we face the fears that we have in a way that manages our fear and that manages the circumstances that we face. So how do we do that? That's really the question. So I want to propose that we again refocus on what we can do and what we know are things that are in place to manage that. So again, folks, we've been doing this now for well over a month. In fact, I think we're closer now to about 6 weeks of time that we've had processes and discussions in place as to how we deal with this crisis. And they're more important than ever, especially if we're going to be able to face the fears that we have. But we know this, the processes that we have in place, based on the medical information that we have and based on the information from places like the Centers for Disease Control or the NIH, mean that we do things to manage this by keeping separation or distance. And this is really, really important. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not always the best at this. I don't naturally do a good job of keeping distance. And that's why it's so important that we all communicate about this and remind each other how important it is to keep that distance in place, that we keep that 6 feet, we avoid shaking hands, we avoid touching each other, and we avoid that proximity, kind of that donut we talk about of 6 feet is important because that minimizes the spread if there's aerosolization of these germs and this virus that's being transported there in the air. We can manage that by keeping that 6 foot distance. It's really, really important. It's also really, really important that we keep our hands clean, our hands washed, because everyone has been able to show and to demonstrate, there's a lot of videos out there about this, that when we aren't smart with our hands, we spread these germs all over. So keeping our hands clean is really important. Some other things that are important is we keep our office space clean. That's why we have people going through the office spaces and keeping them clean and applying disinfectant regularly. And we have to remind each other of this because it's not something that's normal. It's not something we've been doing forever. And so we have to remind each other about how important those things are. In addition to that, we are using PPE as much as possible. We're using PPE on our job sites. We're using PPE in our vehicles. And we're making sure we address our vehicles and our equipment as well. And so all these steps are really important steps for a situation that could arise where our fear becomes more pronounced. And that would be in the case of someone finding out that someone has tested positive for this disease. So I say all those things, and I mention all those things again that you've heard me say a whole bunch of times, because they all set the foundation for what's so important about how we as an organization and as how we as a society have to respond to situations about when there's someone who is either a confirmed case or in a situation where someone thinks they may have come in contact with someone who turns out to either presumptively, meaning we don't know that they have tested positive yet, but we think they might test positive, or someone even who tests positive. So the reality is this, is that we are going to have people test positive. It's very, very likely that we're going to have people test positive. And it's very likely that all of us are coming in contact with someone who maybe is positive right now, and we just don't know about it. So then the question comes up, how do we respond to that situation? And I want to suggest how we intend to respond to these situations. And before I do talk about how I intend to respond or how we intend to respond, I want to talk about how we aren't going to respond. What we're not going to do to respond is we're not going to do things that don't help the situation. And I want to suggest that what does not help the situation, if we think that we find out someone has been around someone who's been potentially infected or has been infected, is to stop what we're doing and to send everybody home. That's not how we're going to approach this. It's not how we're going to deal with it. So I want to be really clear about that to everyone. If you have been in contact with someone who has been infected, you need to be able to fall back on, and you need to be able to make sure that if you have followed the processes that are already in place to keep distance, to keep clean, keep your hands clean, keep surfaces sanitized, you need to recognize that you've done what you need to do to minimize that. And there's no way that any one of us can completely eliminate that threat. All we can do is manage it as low as possible. But I would suggest this: if you do have contact with someone, going home in the middle of the day or at some point during the day because you think you may have been in contact with someone will not solve anything. What that will do is it will throw enormous challenges into the lives of all the people that work around you, and it will probably cause a lot of fear that probably isn't even warranted. What's interesting right now is that a very high percentage of the people who think that they have this disease, because the awareness is so heightened for it, are actually testing negative. Someone told me earlier today, and I have not verified that this is true, so I'm going to take this person at their word, is that 9 out of 10 tests that are being done in Montana right now are coming back negative, which means a lot of people think they have this, and our fear is so heightened. They think they have it, but they're finding out that in fact they don't have it. And the reality is this, folks: as much as this is concerning, as much as I want to emphasize that we have to be safe, the reality is that yesterday in Montana, I believe that we had 13 new confirmed cases. The day before that, we had 0 confirmed cases, I believe. Those are the numbers that I have to the best of my knowledge. I'm not sure if they are exact. I'm going to operate as if they're exact. But if they are true, and if they are exact, 13 people in our state of almost 1 million people presents a very, very low risk. And while, again, it's absolutely imperative and absolutely important that we continue to keep the distance that we have, and it's absolutely imperative that we follow the processes that we have, especially the processes that we use for the work that we do, which including things like the donning and the doffing of PPE, the use of our disinfection protocols, and all the other pieces that we're constantly discussing and training on. It's absolutely important that we keep context in the midst of this, that we keep a level head in the midst of this. We are going to have people that test positive, but everyone needs to understand this completely. If we do have someone that tests positive, we are not going to close our doors. We are not going to send everybody home. And in fact, unless if someone has either, number one, the symptoms of COVID-19, which would include a fever over 100 degrees, and the other, and that's the most important one, or some of the other factors, which can include shortness of breath, some of these other symptoms, of course, those are enumerated in a lot of places. Or if they test positive, we're telling them that we still have work for them and that we still need them available for work. Now, if someone does have those cases that we just talked about, they've either tested positive or they have those symptoms, those specific symptoms, then they need to talk to their supervisor. And what they need to do is they need to do that wisely. They need to do that discreetly. What we don't need to do is cause additional panic. And it's not just in our company that we don't need panic. We don't need any more panic in our communities. We don't need any more panic in our country. And we don't need any more panic in our company. So you need to do that discreetly. Again, most of the people who are being tested for COVID-19 are coming back negative now. So just because you have a fever does not mean that you have COVID-19. What it does mean is that you should be careful and that you should be cautious. And I want to continue to endorse that. But as the leader of this company, I want you to know this: we will not solve anything by panicking or by becoming overly reactive to the situation we're in that is already a bad situation by making it worse. As to some of the recommendations of the CDC, I've actually been involved with this because of some of the roles that I have in our industry. I've been involved with some of the work that is happening with CDC now. I've heard some people saying things about Dayspring doesn't do work to the standards that CDC has or something along those lines. I find this very, very surprising. If you look at the recommendations of CDC, particularly those for people who are handling COVID positive cases right now in healthcare, the PPE that we are using, the processes that we are using dramatically exceed those that are recommended by the CDC. So to the degree that I can give you any confidence or comfort, speaking to the fact about what we're doing, everything in our power right now to be safe, that's what I can say. And it's really important. But I need everybody's help on this call. And not, again, just for Dayspring Restoration or Clean King, but for our communities that we live in, for our country, for our state, for everywhere that we're involved. We need to be level-headed about this situation. We need to be wise, and we need to be thoughtful about how we do this. In our call that we talk about next week, we'll talk more about what the CDC is recommending. And in what the CDC specifically is recommending is, even in some cases where people are positive, they can get back to work, even around other people. They just need to maintain the distancing and sanitization that is critical. So again, folks, what we've got to be able to do is move through this in a careful and thoughtful way. And I need all of your help in doing this, because it's really hard for us to do this alone. Again, these are fearful times, but we manage our fear with good information and stepping forward in courage. And I want to ask everyone and really implore everyone to your commitment for that in this very difficult time. I'm going to turn over now just for a few minutes to Jody. Jody, I'm going to do my best to pull up the document. If you want to take yourself off of mute, I'm going to do my best to pull up the document here that you wanted me to show everyone who's on this. And so bear with me for just 1 second while I pull up a new share. So this is with respect to Blue Cross Blue Shield. Hopefully you can you see that, Jody?
Yeah, that's not the right one though. That's just another document.
No, my apologies.
That's okay.
All right, I'm going to stop that one.
But I can speak to it.
Do you want me to pull that one back up?
If you want to, I can just explain what's happening.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Blue Cross Blue Shield, who's our health insurance provider, has a special open enrollment, which is a one-time COVID-19 related open enrollment. So they are allowing people that are eligible for our health insurance plans that have either elected to waive insurance for themselves or for their spouse or for their children. If they want to change that and actually accept our insurance, there's an open enrollment between March 30th and April 30th. So if you waived, normally you'd have to wait until December, but now you can do it in the March 30 through April 30 time period. And if you want to change your medical plan from Plan 1 to Plan 2 or Plan 3 or vice versa, you can do that during this period as well, though there will be more paperwork. So if you are interested in getting onto our plan, changing your plan, adding someone to our plan, please get with your office managers as soon as possible to get the paperwork. Grace has also added the benefit guide to Bamboo, so you can look at our insurance plans on Bamboo. And then Blue Cross Blue Shield sent out some extra coverage related to COVID-19, where there's free services related to COVID-19 available to employees that are currently on our insurance plan. So definitely go on to Bamboo and see what's available, and let me know, or your office managers know, if you have any questions.
Thanks, Jody. I think I got the right thing up now from Grace. I was trying to open it earlier and it kept blowing up bigger than the size that Grace got. So now I got that there. Grace, thanks for reminding me that was there. I was able just to get it through Slack instead of through the attachment.
Awesome.
Jody, thanks for that. And Jody is inundated constantly with questions on this. So she's a busy gal right now. So please remember that when you're trying to get in touch with her, that she's very busy right now with a lot of the moving parts and pieces that we have in this. Just a couple other things too that I want to mention before I open to any questions that anyone may have is we do have another piece coming for our Dayspring Academy. Again, thanks. I think this one was Lisa Dixon and Isaac in Missoula did one on level 1 disinfection. Lots of good information there. So be sure to check that out. Hope folks are finding the new Dayspring Academy to be a great platform. We'll be continuing to use that and get more and more training content available on that site. As we move into hopefully what is more of our routine business that we have here throughout the year. So that is something that you guys though can expect to see in the relatively near future. As we wrap up our time here, I'm just going to go ahead. Anyone who has any questions here, I'll do the best I can to answer questions if anyone has any. So I'll just pause here for a minute. Feel free to, if you want to take yourself off mute and have a question, I'll do my best to answer. And if no one has, doesn't sound like anyone's chomping at the bit here. So we've got a lot of serious stuff to talk about. Let me end with one little moment of levity here. I hope there's some people here on this this call who loved Calvin and Hobbes. I was a huge Calvin and Hobbes fan when I was growing up. And I've not seen this Tiger. It's called Tiger, not Tiger Tamer, Tiger something, Tiger King, Tiger something. But anyway, I saw one clip of it, about 20 seconds. This guy sounds like a real piece of work, and I thought this was an absolutely hilarious little piece here. The Tiger King, Jody has it there. Thanks, Jody. So anyway, I thought that was pretty funny when I saw it. Hopefully a few of you who were maybe Calvin and Hobbes fans from back in the day find that humorous like I did, and end on a kind of a funny note here in the midst of all this serious stuff. Hope everyone, if you have questions, you want to reach out to either myself or one of the other management team on, we stand ready to do the best we can to continue to work our way through this whole challenging period of time. Thanks for all you guys are doing in the midst of this. I look forward very much to when we're able to look in the rearview mirror. I know there's a lot of things we'll probably say, yeah, we would have maybe done this, that, or the other thing different, but please know we're doing the best we can today, and we appreciate your confidence. And we'll talk to you next week this time. Thank you.